In this video, I'm going to tell you the 3 things I look for in a coach. Using my strongwoman coach, Nadine Guy, as the example piece de resistance. So if you don't know, I am on a self-imposed mission to get to a competitive level in as many sports as possible before I turn 40. Because I'm trying to get to that level, finding a qualified coach is a huge piece of that puzzle. So let's get into it. Number 1, someone who knows their shit. It's that book knowledge, but it's also a high level of experience, either working with high level athletes in that sport or they themselves being a high level athlete. It's sort of that marriage, perfect marriage of the two of those things. I have definitely run into people where on paper, they look incredibly qualified. PhD, Harvard educated, podcast level worthy, training coach, person, the best, right? The temptation is to maybe find the most qualified person on paper. But if they maybe haven't worked with a lot of athletes, if they perhaps don't have experience in the sport or kind of competition you're looking to engage in or participate in, there is going to be a lack of experiential knowledge, which you can't learn in a book. These people don't necessarily have skin in the game. That said, I've also come across individuals who are perhaps incredibly passionate about a sport and incredibly skilled at a sport, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to coach the sport, which is why both of those things, for me and my goals, need to be in place. In the case of Nadine, she had that knowledge. She had gone through the training of getting her personal training qualifications, and she was a skilled, higher level strongwoman athlete who herself has accomplished quite an impressive amount of things and who has worked with a number of different athletes who have a range of abilities. Number 2, someone who can effectively communicate the shit. This particular quality is comprised of also 2 things. The first is the ability to technically communicate something. And the second, which is slightly less, much less quantitative and more qualitative, is just their vibe. Let's look at technical communication. Whenever you're learning a sport or a skill, you're going to encounter some sort of technical aspect of it that requires steps. And this might be a back squat, it might be learning how to swim, which I'm trying to do right now. You want a coach to be able to communicate what you need to do in a way that can then translate into your putting it into action. Usually this is in the form of drills, so I don't even just mean like that coach giving you specific cues. I mean them being able to communicate their intention through the stuff that they're programming for you. How are you thinking about sort of like, so my programming, for example. Let's talk about me.
Okay.
So when you're working on my program, like, how are you thinking about that? How are you preparing an athlete for a competition?
Well, we figure out when the comp is, and we get you to a point where you're at your strongest, but we're not taking the piss and getting you so fatigued, especially close to the comp day. For yourself, her technique is amazing from the beginning. Every video you sent me, I was like, right, let me see what we can check. Oh my God, there's there's nothing. So yeah, you were very easy. Like I didn't have to send you any videos of me going, oh, you need to like, yeah, so that was good. We was just basically increasing it and doing little things. Let me try and think now.
I did have some injuries come up and we did adjust.
Yes, yeah, your
I had some back issues and also my foot.
Yes.
I think my background in CrossFit helps because so much of like the triple extension I learned in CrossFit.
Yes.
So there's a nice carryover. But it is, I think, important to note that there's like, I think with strongwoman or any sport, there's like those 2 components of, okay, you're building the weight, but then there's also the skill of the actual events. And like, I have to work on the curve, like putting my back into flexion.
Yes,
that was something I was really not
yeah.
comfortable with.
Yeah.
So it's like some of the pressing stuff is like, great, I have a triple extension.
Yeah.
But for those more technical, like strongman specific, like I'm going to flex my body around this weight.
And then able to just shoot up off the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, your triple extension's good, but I do see sometimes the sandbag will slip.
And then for the more qualitative quality just the overall vibe. You want to look for someone that you can have a conversation with, that's easy to communicate with. In my world, this also means someone who I respect and admire. I mean, you definitely should respect your coach. I think that they should be a source of inspiration for you. At least I find it to be the most effective when I'm impressed by my coach, because I know that there's a lot I can learn from them, just even by spending time with them. Nadine is laid back.
Yes, that's it.
She's really funny. She has a great sense of humor.
Really?
I feel like I can come to her with my questions and my concerns, but when it comes to actually training, taking her training seriously and taking my coaching seriously, she really zeroes in.
When I'm going to a comp, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on myself. Obviously, I want to do well, but I don't sit there thinking, if you don't do it, like being hard on myself. Like, I just want to go there and have some fun, and I'm not being lazy about it and just going, oh, see how I do. Like, I'm giving my everything that I can. For instance, at 4 Nations that I'd done in the beginning of this year, I was actually pissing about the whole time. When I turned out, I was wearing a furry Powerpuff Girl hat, and like I was wearing like pink and orange, and I was literally just walking about going like having a good old laugh, and I won. So the laughing did help, and I wasn't like, in between events, I wasn't sort of standing around going, I was literally like, yeah, you're right, babe. You know, like having a nice time, happy to be there, but I switched on when the whistle goes. I know what I need to do.
When I did the chaos competition, I couldn't deadlift 160 kilograms off the floor. And when I came back to that in my training, I was getting really frustrated with myself and kind of pissed off. What the fuck, man? If I had had a coach who was also getting pissed off at me and really drilling into me and being harsh with me, that wouldn't have been helpful. But because Nadine was able to almost calm me down and help me refocus my energy on the little things that mattered, then it made a huge difference. When at Static Monsters, I was able to deadlift 160 kilos off the floor. So all these little things matter, which is why I'm doing a video on them. There have definitely been times in my life where I've needed someone to give me harsh feedback, and even though that hurts in the moment, it's really helped me to grow. So sometimes it's hard to know what you need, but ultimately what becomes clear in those relationships is that I know that they want the best for me. Number 3, someone who sees potential in you that you don't see. And we've seen this like loads in movies.
No, I don't want them to gain another yard. You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Titans.
Where like the leader or the coach sees the potential in the team or the player that they don't see. And sometimes that coach gives them like this really harsh feedback that no one else in their life is giving them.
Do you even know who I am?
From what I can see, a very confused and scared young man.
Scared of who? Scared of you?
And then sometimes they like speak like the most truth ever to that person. It just lands, then we're watching and we get goosebumps.
It's not your fault. Don't fuck with me, all right? Don't fuck with me, Sean, not you. It's not your fault.
And it's all because the coach sees a potential in that person that that person doesn't see. If you're looking for like a great coach, a coach that could change your life, I think that they need to see something in you, believe you can get to a point that maybe you don't see. But their experience and their ability to work with you tells them, so that they can tell you that they see you getting much further than you ever thought possible. And in the case of working with Nadine, that was doing Static Monsters. When we started working together, I said, hey, I want to do this single competition, this chaos competition. And she was like, I think you can do a world qualifier. And I was like, what? No, me? What? That's crazy. But we were able to train for it, and it provided an opportunity for me to retry that lift. And I got to see how I stacked up against a whole bunch of other women in my division. Not in the top 10 or anything, but I'm really happy with how I did. If I were to give you some sort of action step or takeaway from this, it would just be to see if you could try out some low commitment, either one-to-one training session with them or a workshop. Jump into a workshop with them, jump into a training session, and really try to listen with your whole body about how they're coaching you. Are they just throwing a bunch of fancy words at you that you don't understand? If you ask them for clarification, are they able to make it make sense? Or are they just much more interested in themselves demonstrating the movement and looking really fancy and not actually helping you move better? The other thing that I wanted to mention that I think is important for me to say is there's only so good I can get in a specific sport when I'm only spending 6 to 8 months on it. I'm very aware of that. I'm really curious to see what that kind of intense training window can lead to. But I also know that getting really, really good at a sport takes a lot of time and a lot of practice and patience. And with Strong Woman, I was able to lift 160, in part because of Nadine's programming and coaching, but also in part because I have a base of strength and knowledge in strength sports from CrossFit and powerlifting, which I've been doing for the better part of 10 years. And so specifically when it comes to building muscle mass and the neurological stuff around getting stronger, that just takes a long time. Even with that background in strength sports, there were definitely still moments in the competition, particularly in the first competition at Chaos, where I had to be really thoughtful about how I was moving and what I was doing. And if I really wanted to get to a very competitive level in a sport, I really want to try to eliminate, I think, as much thought as possible from what I'm doing on event day. I don't really want to be thinking, oh, I need to move this here and this here. It needs to be very automatic. Definitely didn't get to a point with Strong Woman training where it was just rote. Everything just came really easily and I wasn't thinking, which is interesting, especially considering that the next sport that I'm training for is a long distance open water swim. I know that I need to get to a level with swimming where I'm not thinking about it because there's a lot of risk factors there. And I can't be worrying about if I'm gonna drown because I can't swim while also worrying about sea creatures and currents and waves and the temperature and everything. So that's gonna be really interesting. And I'm gonna need a lot of really intelligent coaches, captains, mermaids, people who can paddle kayaks to help me. But yeah, if you want to follow along with that journey and the interesting people that I'm going to meet along the way, please press the subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. If you like this video, give it a like or a dislike, which no one will see anyways, so sorry. Yeah, thanks for watching. And I hope that you got some useful things from this video. And lastly, here's to those life-changing coaches like Nadine, and a little Static Monsters montage to send you home with.
Bring it back, 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 bring it back.